Okay, so let's take a look at the way to focus on different parts of the business. When we are running a business, operating any part of the business, we're going to have an org chart to take care of different parts of the business. But what are those parts? And can we become more effective at running some of those parts relative to our focus, our attention, development? What skills do we need to learn? So being able to map this out and show it from the perspective of a business overview is going to give you clarity. And one of the things that I'm always looking for with my clients is added clarity, because it's just lets you make better decisions. And so we're going to take a look at this from that perspective. All right, so let us open up this whiteboard and we will take a peek at what a effective way to at least get an overview of what it is that you're trying to work at in your business. Let's take a peek here. All right, I'll move you over to this new screen here. All right, what are we looking at? Here's effectively the overall operational structure of a business. We've got a lot of moving parts here, and let's zoom in a little bit. At the very top level, we've got the ownership, we've got the directors and partner shareholders, and maybe a board. If you're smaller, you may not have this, so it's fine. You don't need to worry about that. But if you're the sole proprietor or the only owner of the company, then that's you. And if you've got partners and shareholders, then obviously you've got collaboration there. If you've got a board, then you have to answer to the board relative to your successes. Okay. So how do we end up taking a look at this and making it more effective? Let's widen this out slightly. The first thing is what I normally look at for a business. This is something for you to pay attention to, is first of all, your overall strategy is dictated by your vision, your mission, your values, and your ethos. It's the whole framework about how you play the game. And the better you are at understanding this part, everything else gets easier. So I'll kind of walk you through the top levels here, kind of drill down slightly. Every single one of these boxes takes work, takes focus, but you can't do it all. You got to sequence it, do it in order. So when we're looking at your overall strategy of your vision, mission, values, your ethos, then what does that mean? Okay, so that's going to impact your cultural matrix. It's going to impact how your team operates. So when we talk about culture, we're really talking about this idea of the behavior of a team over time that becomes your culture. And the only way we can really impact culture is by developing individual leaders so they can impact their own behaviors. So when we have independent behaviors changing over time, becoming better over time, the team behavior starts to shift. Now you have team culture. What's your current cultural matrix? This is something I always try to unpack with people. And then we will assess what your cultural, like how your culture is actually functioning. This is also tied, what kind of company are you, is tied directly to your marketing. What can you market? What can you not market? What kind of brand are you? What does your brand represent? What does your brand design components? So it's down one level. And then where are you positioning yourself on the veil or the value equivalency line? Again, a lot more detail. I'll have a different video on the veil at a different time, but it's effectively where are you in the competitive aspect of the market? And so this is fundamental. You need to understand this if you want to build a team and a company, and you got to get this dialed in. So this is what I spend a huge amount of work on in the beginning. Over here, of course, a business doesn't survive without sales. So you've got your sales. How are you creating sales? What sort of bidding structure do you have for sales? What sort of estimates if you're giving out requests for proposals, or are you just direct sales? And this is going to differ based off of whether you're B2B, B2C, B to something else. There's all sorts of little subcategories that you can have in there. But understanding your sales cycle and exactly what that is. This has an entire separate chart that we drill down into, like most of these do, but this is just a nice overview. And then what's your product? What is your sales actually selling? And so product development is very, very important. If your product is a service, you still want to treat it like a product. You want your product to be something where you're like, if you're evolving your service, you're effectively evolving your product. Now, if you have an actual physical product, that's different. Maybe it's a software product or whatnot, but it's your product development is key. Who's managing that product, and what is your innovation and research and development tied towards it? So we're moving left here. Then, of course, your product generally cannot be fulfilled without a vendor relationship. So who are your vendors? Where are you getting your vendors from? Where are you in the supply chain? And what's the relationship with those vendors? Who has control and authority over those relationships? What kind of contracts do you have with your vendors? Who's negotiating those contracts with your vendors? And what's the executive level relationship with the vendors? This is very important too. This is a very subtle distinction that I like to lean into a little bit. Because do you want to decentralize your vendor relationships to your product managers? Or do you want to decentralize it to your sales team? Or is it something that happens for someone who's controlling a division or a specific part of your business? What's the executive level involvement with your vendors? If the owner and director is involved, that comes with some wins. It comes with some problems as well. Then your core operations. You're looking at the operations of your company. What are your main systems and what are your main processes? SOPs, playbooks, processes. What are your processes? How are you developing that out? And what are your KPIs? How are you gauging success? KPIs to me are something that you got to be looking at a lot. And if you don't know what your KPIs are or what to do once you know what your KPIs are, then that's a learning curve as well. And then what's your service level relative to your operations? So is your operations being serviced effectively or not? And so how are you keeping that in balance? So again, all of these have deeper drill downs, but these are things that you need to focus on when it comes to the executive level. HR is over here. So we got people. So we got people, strategy, operations. That's the trifecta that I work with. And you've got HR policy, and then you've got your training. So your HR training program, like how do you onboard, all that sort of stuff. Now, in this is a whole whack of stuff. It's recruitment, it's onboarding, it's administrative, it's vacation, it's compensation. There's a whole bunch of factors going on in here. Your HR implementer is going to be impacting your culture. So this is a downstream effect. So once this is all built out, you got layers in here. And this is all built out. This is going to impact this. This has to be tied to this. You can't have a scenario where you want your culture to be one thing and your HR is doing something else. Can't happen. That's got to get solved right away. I see that a lot where policies are not supporting this. The culture is doing something different, and none of that is tied to the brand. And so you need synergy there. It's a lot more work. It takes a lot of focus. If it's off the rails, if you're at the starting stage, you're going to evolve this over time, but it's something that can really become out of alignment over time. Okay, IT, you've got IT systems, you've got your CRM to manage your customers. Maybe your CRM is tied to your sales cycle as well, but overall, do you have a good way to manage your client base? And then what are the operational components of IT? Are you using a Google platform? Are you using Microsoft, whatever you want to use? I use an Apple and MacBook and Google, but that's my preference because I like those products. And what's your AI development? This is a new field here. So this is a tack on. It comes off the side. It's not fully integrated yet because AI is going to impact all these other things. It's going to impact your HR. Maybe you got an onboarding thing with AI. Over here, maybe you've got a payroll aspect that's dealing with AI. All the way over here, maybe AI is helping you with product management and seeing what your inventory levels are. There's a lot that AI can do. Maybe AI is helping you develop KPIs. So AI is kind of this interesting thing. I've got it here as a consideration as far as what are you doing with AI to, I don't know why my circles are looking so uncircly, but what is AI doing to help increase the value of your company or to help increase the operational efficiency? Don't make it bloat. Very, very important. Over here, finance, you got payroll, you've got your budget, and then you've got your controls. Remember, this is an important thing, and I've got a couple of comments on this as well. Accounting is not controlled by accounting. Seems like a weird statement. Accounting is controlled by your team. Your team's behavior is going to affect what goes into finance. Finance keeps it sorted and organized, tells you what's happening, pays out what your expenses are, understands your budget, helps you with your controls and your accounting and bookkeeping. But at the same time, this is a effect. It's a outcome of all this. Everything else that's happening here feeds this. And so, feeds this. It feeds your finance model. And so very, very important. And you need really good accounting to make sure that all the things that are happening on the left are accurate. Then over here, you've got legal. Depending on the industry you're in, you might have a lot of compliance or governance. If you're a nonprofit, that's going to be different. If you're in an industry that works with a lot with government agencies, then you're going to have a lot more compliance requirements here as well. So you got to make sure that you're buttoned up and tight, so you're not suffering any negative consequences, and leveraging all of the benefits you can get from that at the same time. And then you've got your facilities management. So how are you designing your facilities? Do they make sense relative to your brand and what you need to do? And then who's managing it? Like who's taking care of your actual facilities? So this is like a big overview I just wanted to share with you as far as what am I talking about when it comes to working with clients? What can you focus on? And where do you have weakness and where do you have gap? The ability to start to hone in and say, hey, you know what? We really need to focus on our sales. We need to get more effective at bidding, or we need to focus on our marketing. We need to focus more on product management. You can't do it all unless you have the infrastructure to continue to decentralize this, build up the leaders who are running every single one of these components in your business. Now, if you're a solopreneur and you're looking to scale and start building out a team, this all lies on you. And so you got to start collaborating, figuring out where your gaps are, figuring out where your strengths are, and leaning on people who can help you. And so really, really important. Now, if you want to stay a solopreneur, you got to simplify all this stuff. You got to make this so that it's really, really tight. So there you go. There's a quick sort of map of all the moving parts of a business. Are there more than this? Sure. Are these the major ones that I like to focus on? 100%. And the ability to drill down and evolve, implement, and develop some key objectives towards making all these operational infrastructures tight is really, really beneficial. All right. So majority of that is pillars 1, 2, and 3 on the 5 pillars of business. And it's something to take a look at. Leave a comment. If you're enjoying this type of information and these types of videos, subscribe, like, obviously. I would love a like. Tells me that you're actually listening and some of this has value to you. Any questions about it, feel free to reach out. I'll leave my information in the details of the video. All right. That's what I got for you today.